right, guys, so after you've done a Wim Hof breathwork round, you'll notice at the end, Wim says to take a full breath in, pause with that full breath, and push it to your head. And it feels great, and you sometimes want to hold on longer than he suggests, but I'm going to tell you now why you do it, how you do it, when you do it, who should be doing it, and all the details and all the questions you might have about that maneuver that we do at the end of a Wim Hof method breathwork round. So, and remember guys, if you like the content that I share, like and subscribe so that you get the newest stuff that's coming out. And I'm happy to share these tools and these insights that I've learned over 5 years of teaching and sharing the Wim Hof method and breathwork in general. So, why do you do this stuff? You do that movement, you do that pressurizing to the head. Medically, it's also called the Valsalva maneuver. So what it does is push blood up to your head and cerebral spinal fluid. Some neat things happen when we do that. So when you get into deep sleep, your brain cells shrink, you get more cerebral spinal fluid upstairs. And that could be a potent and powerful garbage collector for your brain cells. And so we've seen in studies that people with early Alzheimer's have a lack of cerebral spinal fluid upstairs. So one of those things we're doing is doing this cellular collection potentially for the lymphatic system, which is amazing. But the Valsalva maneuver in general does some other fantastic things, 3 great things. So what it does is relax cerebral blood flow because you're pushing the blood upstairs, right? And then you open up your chest so your heart beats easier. When your heart beats easier, if you're having a heart arrhythmia, your heart will get back on track. Not only that, you get this blood pressure drop, which is interesting. So also, you push blood to your extremities. So wouldn't that be useful in some cold exposure? We are overriding the circulatory system ever so slightly so that we are in control of the pump a little bit. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. So how do you do this? Well, it's very simple. He says just push to your head, which is incredible. That is the most simplistic way to do it, and I love it, and he says it perfect, and everybody can do it, but sometimes you can overdo it, right? So if you're practicing this a little bit, you might get a headache afterwards. And so we want to alleviate the headaches with a little bit of good instruction and a little bit of good practice. You don't have to get headaches from this. All you have to do is let gravity and let your posture keep you from having to push quite so much. So if that makes sense, you take a big breath in all the way in, you pause with that breath, you keep the pressure in your chest, you let the pressure sink deeper towards the spine, and then now you're going to feel that sensation of it rising up. So in just one breath, it doesn't work all that well. You don't feel the sensations quite as much. But in about 5 breaths, it works fantastic. Because potentially we made this chemical shift. Once you get this hormone release and this chemical shift, now after we take over the circulatory system and we start to pump that chemical shift around in the body, you start to feel it a little bit more. That's just anecdotal evidence, guys. But let's do it together. We're going to take 5 breaths. We're going to pause with a full breath. And then with that pause, we're just going to take our posture again and set the pressure a little bit lower. And you can squeeze to the head if you want, if that's something you've been practicing. But I'm telling you guys, use gravity, use your posture, and start to feel the blood flow fill to your head. So I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a long time, and that's the chokes that we do. We're cutting off the return valve, and the blood starts to fill your head, and it starts to make you lightheaded. It starts to make you dizzy. You'll even pass out from this. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But let's demonstrate a little bit. So here we go. We're going to take 5 breaths and pause. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, Last, big breath in. Take a little extra. Lock it in. You set that pressure a little deeper around your spine, and you will feel that consciousness shift. Okay? So you get dizzy. What is dizziness? Dizziness is a layer of consciousness between conscious and unconscious. It's very navigatable, and it's the body's natural mechanism to let you know to start focusing on yourself, if that makes sense, guys. So if you're standing, it's telling you to sit down. If you're sitting down, it's telling you to put your hands down. Why? Because you are starting to disregard what's around you. And when you do that, when you start to disregard what's around you, well, all of a sudden the data that's moving around inside that we have to ignore all the time because we have all these other aspects of our life that we have to engage with, that data that's moving around starts to become more apparent. So Wim would say we have 10 senses, not just 5, and this is outside the 5 senses. This is interoception. So you start to create this interoceptive sensation of what's going on inside your body. And it feels incredible. And that's why, guys, sometimes you want to hold on. We say 10, 15 seconds after that last round. Just do it for that long. Don't keep holding on longer with that full breath, because it feels so good you want to hold on a little bit longer. But guys, don't hold on longer. Why? Because we want to not change our CO2 balance, because we have been breathing a bunch and our CO2 has dropped significantly. Each round builds upon itself so that you can hold your breath for longer and longer each round. And so when you hold your breath, your oxygen gets a little lower. It accentuates each round. So if you want to hold on longer with that full breath, just wait till the end of your session. Then, if you want to do it more because you love it and it feels good and it really is a mechanical meditative state that you get in, when you do that, regardless of the breath work that you've done before, you start to get in this state that potentially changes your brain waves. You get more activity near the brain stem, less activity near the frontal cortex. It's amazing. It's you mechanically, regardless of what you've done, have gotten in this state. If you want to do that, take a few breaths. Take 5 breaths, and then on your 6th breath, pause. Do that Valsalva maneuver. So again, it's an incredibly effective way to manipulate your circulatory system and to engage with and increase the hormones that you've already released. So that's it, guys. So who should do this? Everybody is available to do this stuff. If you overdo it, you can get a little bit of a headache. You can, I mean, if you really overdo it, you can pop blood vessels in your eyes, which goes away, but you want to avoid that, okay, guys? So guys, people pass out when they do this maneuver, so it's something to keep in mind that when you do the Wim Hof method, there's 2 moments during the recipe that you might pass out, and it's when you hold your breath for long extended periods of time. I've seen people pass out at about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So when you're holding your breath, you want to be in a place comfortably on the mats, somewhere where if you did pass out that you wouldn't get hurt. And then when you're doing this Valsalva maneuver, because when you pause and you hold with a full breath like that and you push a little to your head or whatever you're doing, that it drops your blood pressure. And so when you drop your blood pressure, you have the potential to pass out too. So don't do this while you're driving. Don't do this while you're in water. Don't do this while you're meditating at the edge of a misty mountaintop. Just take a few steps away from the edge and make sure that when you do this, you're sitting in a place where if you did pass out, you wouldn't hurt yourself. Don't forget, if you like the content I'm sharing, like, comment, and drop kick the alert button so that you get the new videos. And I'm happy to share more. This stuff changed my life, so I'm happy if this stuff works for you and potentially even changes your life, because it happens so quickly And Wim was really a pioneer to the fact that he removed the layers of these esoteric disciplines that have all these layers of complexity, and we could talk about them, guys. And if you know the Sanskrit names for these things, and the bandhas, and the perineal compression, and the chakras, and how this existed thousands of years ago, and you want to share that, please share that in the comments. But otherwise, the simplicity of this stuff is my absolute favorite. So just try it, see how it works for you, and ask questions if you have any.